Hey, what's up, guys? What's up? Dr. Jaws here, and today we are going to be talking about the little gulper shark, Centrophorus oeado. These are a really cool group of sharks, and also sorry for the slight delay. I had a little bit of uh, my screens were all over the place for a hot second. So hey, Howard, welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend and just are getting through the winter. It's been really cold down here. I went for a hike yesterday, and it was funny because it was it was nice to be out. It was a nice sunny day, but it also was a little treacherous because it was extremely windy, and I heard three trees fall along the trail, which was a little harrowing. So winter is long and cold, and I'm very excited for the warm weather to come back. But hope you had a good weekend. And speaking of cold, this is going to be a deep water shark, so living in the dark depths of the twilight zone and the midnight zone. So it'll be a really cool species to study. And gulper sharks in general are a really cool group that aren't really talked about too much. So I'm excited to learn more about a new species, or a relatively new species, and new species to me, where I'm familiar with the classic gulper shark. There's the leaf scale gulper shark, and I think just the gulper shark Conroe-Nicholls is like the one of the more famous species. But this one, Centrophorus oeado, is a little bit new to me, so I'm not as familiar with it. But gulper sharks are cousins of dogfish. They are an entirely different group, so it's a different family. And there's a lot of similar features where they have dorsal fin spines, just like dogfish or spur dogs. But I think overall, gulper sharks get to be a little bit bigger, and they have these really cool teeth that we'll get to take a closer look at today. I think with that, we'll start to learn more about the little gulper sharks' biology. But it's good to see you, Howard, and just hope you had a great weekend. But let's dive into. I think we should probably start here. So this is zoomed in. This is Annie Rick's website, sharksandrays.com. So formerly known as Elazo Diver. So we have a couple of interesting facts and tidbits here on this website. I'm going to see if I can zoom out a little bit. There we go. Okay, just want to compress the view so everybody can see info on the species. Okay, perfect. So little gulper shark, Centrophorus, I can't speak tonight, oeado. So family Centrophoridae, again, these are the gulper sharks. This is a different kind of group of sharks, so they're closely related to dogfish, but they're not dogfish. Lot of synonyms, which is interesting because when I usually consult my pocket guide to Sharks of the World when signing up for the streams, and I actually couldn't find the shark in this guide, it's not that old, it's 2015, so it's probably in the newest version of Sharks of the World. But when you look at the synonyms, these are the old scientific names that were once assigned to the species. I could probably find what the species used to be called or grouped under. So I see Centrophorus armatus and Centrophorus barbatus. And I actually don't even see that. So we have Acanthias nigricens and Acanthias oeatus, which I think is a group that is retired, and Squalus oeado. Let me check that really quick. That'd be really interesting if this was originally described as a squalus. And it's not. So this is actually honestly kind of a weird shark. Where it's not in Sharks of the World, the 2015 edition. So my guess is it's probably, I know this species has an older history. Like I know that this was first described, I want to say it's like in the early 1900s. So I'm guessing that this probably went through a couple revisions. Gulper sharks do have a really weird classification history where some species were grouped together into one species, and Centrophorus Nicholls, or I think it's the Taiwan gulper shark, that has been kind of not a placeholder, but a catch-all for a lot of the species that are kind of still waiting to be described. So my guess is this little gulper shark, Centrophorus oyado, probably was grouped into the Niacon group and then kind of split off as taxonomy got a little bit better. So yeah. Oh, nice weekend. A bit chilly up here too. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, it's been. I feel like it's been it's been kind of an odd winter. I mean, in a good way, an odd winter in Virginia where we've had some unusually warm days, but we have also had some unusually cold days. I mean, it's like January typically is freezing, but I feel like we've had a higher proportion of just truly freezing days this year. So, we're almost out. We passed the winter solstice, fortunately, so we're slowly going to get brighter and brighter throughout the year. So identification for the little gulper shark: a small shark with a pointed snout, large green reflective eyes, so kind of a characteristic of deep water species. Snout length greater than mouth width, small spiracle behind the eye. It's actually kind of a larger spiracle. Dorsal fins low and long with interior fin spines that are half the length of the dorsal fin interior margin. Let's see. I won't read the entire descriptions, but I wanted to see if there's anything interesting. Pectoral fin free rear tip long and thin. Oh, that is actually kind of interesting. So the trailing edge of the pectoral fin here is actually this. It's almost like a filament, and that is unusual. A lot of sharks don't really have that kind of feature. It makes me think of spadefish a little bit, where you see how the the pectoral fin just kind of curves into this like long filament. The pectoral fin also, has a rounded apex, but then it just kind of curves back here into a filament. So that is a little unusual as far as sharks go. You have very small gills that are located interiorly to the origin of the pectoral fin. Very large eyes, and love how reflective they are. Pretty large spiracles. Actually, the spiracles are as large as the gills, which is pretty interesting. So, let's see what else we can see. Pretty reasonably sized, like black dorsal fin spine. Two spines, one on each dorsal fin. Dorsal fins have dusky tips. Dorsal coloration gray to brownish gray. Conservation status. This is actually a great picture of the species. Look at that. Look how big the eyes are. So based on the enormous size of the eyes, I imagine this is a truly deep water species. So probably, I feel like this shark easily lives in the midnight zone. So, oh, Howard, I like the blue tinge. I assume they must be biofluorescent. Could be. I forget. There was that really good bioluminescence study, and I forget where. And you're probably right. Fluorescent is the right word. So you're probably right that under is it UV light that ultraviolet light that fluorescence shows that actually could be. That actually could be visible under that spectrum, which would be really cool. I was about to say bioluminescence. We know that lantern sharks and pocket sharks have bioluminescence. I forget. There's some sharks in different groups that have it. I don't think the gulper sharks have the bioluminescence as in light-producing organs, but biofluorescence is a little bit different, and I think you might be right that could be happening with the eyes. So. It's so interesting how large these are. This is proportionally enormous, maximizing light down the depths. So, let's see. The little gulper shark is endangered. The little gulper shark is slow to mature and has a very low reproductive productivity. It is targeted for its liver oil, which is considered to be of the highest quality. It is also a bycatch component in trawl, longline, and set net fisheries throughout much of its range. Fishing activity has been intensive where the species is targeted. Since the 1960s in the Philippines, deepwater dogfish fisheries have historically fished regional populations to collapse and then moved on. So, unfortunately, this is something that we've done too. In the United States, we did this to spiny dogfish, also known as pike dogfish, where we fished the dogfish to collapse. I want to say that's maybe even the 90s. I think that was like relatively not recent, but like not really a long time ago. And then careful management has brought the dogfish back, so it is possible to bring them back. But dogfish are a group that are very susceptible. And I know this is not truly a dogfish, but this is something. This is the biology of gulper sharks is similar to dogfish, so it makes sense that with such a slow growing and slow to reproduce animal, that overfishing causes the population to collapse. So easily collapse. So. In India, a targeted gulper shark liver oil fishery commenced in 2002. There has been a targeted fishery around the Andaman Islands and Sri Lanka since the 1980s. There is also a developing fishery in Somalia. In the Northeast Atlantic, little gulper sharks are bycatch in small quantities in Portuguese longline fisheries. They are also recorded in longline and trammel nets throughout the Mediterranean. So that makes me want to know the range of the species. So we'll take a look at IUCN Red List, which is also corroborating the species is endangered. And I am actually a little bit shocked that that's a pretty large range. So here we go. Little gulper shark can be found in the Mediterranean. Can also be found in the Eastern Atlantic, so Portugal, Morocco, Mauritania, Senegal. You can also find little gulper sharks here, north of Scotland and Ireland, which is pretty interesting. And also in Scandinavia, so there's a little population in Scandinavia. What I'm shocked to see is a little gulper shark population where kind of off of where I am. What? So okay, so this is getting interesting. Okay, so remember my infamous gulper shark story, my which I for longtime fans of this stream and channel, I've told the story like 3 times. I had a set of gulper shark jaws gifted to me by the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. I misplaced them in the sense I think I was cleaning them along with sandbar shark jaws, and I had a sand tiger shark jaw set. All gifts from Virginia Institute of Marine Science, because they were just jaws that they had that weren't really appropriately recorded, as in they didn't really appropriately record whoever was the scientist at the time. And the sand tiger set is from the 70s. I forget where the gulper shark or the sandbar shark sets were from, but they just didn't have the right information in terms of like what was the latitude and longitude, where they were acquired, when were they captured, who they were just undocumented, which is really sad. So but I mean, they've been good use where I've been the sand tiger shark jaws I show whenever I've lectured or traveled. I just show them as a way to kind of visualize shark jaws and shark teeth. So anyway, sorry, I'm kind of rambling. The sandbar shark and the gulper shark set I had, I left. I think I was on vacation with my family, and I left in an area of. Actually, I forget if it was family vacation or if I had the jaws in a fridge somewhere, but somehow they got like misplaced in the wrong bag and they were thrown out on accident. It was just horrible because gulper shark jaws are just extremely rare, and any shark jaw is just like you just never want to lose it. So anyway, I had gulper shark jaws, and I've told the story multiple times, but they were thrown out. It was just a complete tragedy, a travesty. And I always thought they were Centrophorus niacong, which is the species that is typically associated here. But now that I see that the little gulper shark, Centrophorus oyado, is off our coast, I mean, it is in this area right here. This is the underwater canyon, so this actually overlaps Norfolk Canyon down here. It overlaps Hudson Canyon up here, Baltimore Canyon. I want to say Washington Canyon's here. Most of the canyons are named after major cities, just kind of for convenience on the coast, at least in the Mid-Atlantic region. So I really wonder, and I'm ashamed if this is real, I actually really wonder if the gulper shark jaw set I had came from this endangered species. Again, I did not collect it or capture it. It was gifted, but that just makes it even worse if it is Centrophorus oyato. So shame. Man, that's really a shame. So speaking of Gulper Shark jaws, we'll get back. Oop, shoot. We'll get back to conservation in a second. There's some really fantastic photos of what these jaws look like. So here we go. So the Gulper sharks have very unique teeth in the sense that they're all pretty equally sized. So we have, and they're also kind of like, they almost make you think of white shark teeth a little bit, as far as like, you know, they're these like like almost perfect triangles. Just the scale is much much smaller, but the functional teeth in the jaws are pretty equally sized along the rows, and you can kind of see how they all lock together. So it's a little bit similar to dogfish jaws, where the teeth lock as into a single blade, where the best way to think about it is like a chainsaw. These sharks will bite onto something and will, you know, just kind of wriggle their way, like tearing chunks of flesh off of whatever they're biting. Maybe it's like a dead whale that's sinking to the bottom of the ocean, or maybe it's another large prey item. But here we go. This is a great example of the interlocking teeth of a gulper shark. So, and this is extremely similar to dogfish teeth, where it's a very similar shape, where all the teeth overlap into a single blade with multiple cusps or multiple points. So a really truly unique jaw set, an amazing, amazing shark with amazing teeth, and it really is a true shame that I had it at one point and it's, you know, gone. So here's a colorized photo of gulper shark teeth. So you can kind of see from this one just the scale, like how small the teeth are. Here is a gulper shark jaw set. So the upper teeth are kind of more narrow. They're still like really broad comparatively, so they're sort of for gripping, but also can help in shearing. The lower teeth are really terrifying in the sense, like, these are fantastic shearing teeth. So the fact that they're like flat and recurved and working as like a single blade, that's a really effective cutting mechanism. So the gulper shark can actually bite onto something with its upper teeth and then use its lower teeth to just swing its lower jaw back and forth and just like rip chunks of prey off, or chunks of fresh flesh off its prey. So really beautiful jaw set, and pretty unique. Like kind of a complex set of teeth too, where it looks like in the upper jaw at least there's like multiple functional rows. So 2 rows of teeth working perhaps in tandem. Whereas the bottom jaw looks like there's only 1 functional row. Never want to get bit by that if you're a deep sea critter. Let's see, and then some not as good. I mean, some photographs of preserved specimens of Centrophorus oyato, the little gulper shark here, but I'm glad we have Andy Merck's photos of living specimens. So here on Elasmo Diver. We'll take a look at a couple photos. So this one is really great, and actually it does give you a shot of the teeth. So you can see the lower jaw and the lower teeth just kind of jutting out right there. The upper teeth are sheathed behind, I don't want to say their lips, but like they're sheathed within the mouth of the upper jaw. But the lower jaw teeth are pretty interesting to see that they're right out in the open as the shark kind of swims along. The mouth is in the ventral surface of the body, so very similar to dogfish in terms of positioning of the jaws. Very interesting compared to when you think of like carpet sharks or requiem sharks, where their mouths are a little bit more forward. The gulper sharks have their mouths kind of underslung directly beneath these huge eyes. Beautiful reflective green eyes, very eerie looking too. Look how, and this is a living shark, by the way. So it's kind of amazing seeing that this is a photograph of a living shark. So not a preserved specimen, a living shark, but with these bulging, reflective green eyes that just are perfectly adapt for living in the depths of the twilight zone and the midnight zone. So, nice side view of Gulper Shark swimming. And then another nice photo of Gulper Shark kind of staring with those humongous eyes. As far as conservation, I was freaking out about the shark being basically in my home ecoregion, which is kind of wild. You can also see it in Florida, the Bahamas, Gulf of Mexico, Caribbean Sea. Really, truly incredible. Wow. Let's see. So as far as conservation in terms of why the species is endangered, the little Gulper shark is a small deep-water shark known from a widespread yet patchy global distribution in the Mediterranean Sea, Atlantic, and Indo-Pacific Oceans. It is recorded on continental and insular shelves at slopes at depths of 210 to 1400 meters, so that's only the twilight and midnight zone, and mostly between 400 and 800 meters. So it is best adapted for the twilight zone, but it can sometimes occur in the midnight zone. This species is caught as a target in incidental catch and small-scale and industrial fisheries using a variety of fishing gear. The species is retained for its liver oil, which is considered among the most valuable of shark liver oil and is an important marine resource for local communities. Interesting at this point is emphasized that the liver oil is highly valued from the shark. So all sharks have liver oil, and that has been a primary reason for a lot of them being hunted, along with their meat and their fins, but in human history. But it's interesting that the little Gulper shark, for whatever reason, that's been a particular point of focus for the species. I'm not sure what makes it so important, but we'll hopefully learn more about that as we read through the research tonight. So. Gulper sharks are known for their slow life histories, and targeted fisheries for the species have collapsed over a relatively short time, over 20 years. Less than 20 years. Much of the species' distribution overlaps with intensive fishing activities, and the species is both estimated and suspected to be declining across much of its range. Globally, the little Gulper shark is estimated to have undergone a population reduction of 50 to 79% over the last 3 generations, based on abundance data and levels of exploitation, and the species is assessed as endangered. So, oh my goodness. As far as diving notes for Gulper sharks, because I'm amazed that you can see them, actually. So, let's see, this website, thesharksarrays.com, says a deep water species from a continental slope. This website is saying it's 50 to 1400 meters. Reaction to divers not encountered by divers. Diving logistics not available. So what's weird is that it's strange that Andy got these photos of a Gulper shark, like a little Gulper shark, which is really incredible. The fact that you can't predict where they're going to be because it's a deep water species, it makes these images actually even more astonishing. Let's see, the little Gulper shark appears to be a wide-ranging species, but further research may lead to one or more regional splits. Currently, its distribution includes most subtropical temperate coastlines, but is noticeably absent in the Eastern Pacific. So, this is interesting, saying that it appears to be a wide-ranging species, but further research may lead to one or more splits. That's actually extremely interesting because this could be multiple species hiding in plain sight. Again, Gulper sharks have kind of notoriously been some of the most difficult sharks to classify, or to kind of like organize taxonomically. They're really tricky, and I would not be surprised. Oh yeah, so you have a population in Australia, you have a population in Japan, India. So it makes sense that this could be. I mean, the deep sea is a relatively stable habitat. So on the one hand, it could be that this shark could be global, like truly global. On the other hand, it could also be likely that it's actually multiple species that or incorrectly classified as just one species. If that's the case, that makes its conservation status even worse. If this was multiple species, then that'd be really sad if it was maybe two critically endangered species as opposed to one endangered species. But diet feeds on bony fishes and cephalopods. Gulper sharks have a highly distensible mouths, so that's where they get the name Gulper Shark, that allow them to consume proportionally larger prey than other sharks of their size. So that would be really cool to get that someday, to have that on film. Be really incredible, actually. So, reproduction: aplacental vivipar species, litter size 1 to 2 pups. So it's actually extremely low as far as sharks go. Behavior is largely unknown. Jose Castro, who's a very famous North American shark biologist, or shark biologist who's done a lot of work with North American sharks, lists the little gulper shark as being the most common centrophoid species in the Bahamas. Interesting. So it's another way of saying this is the most common gulper shark in the Bahamas. So, as far as gulper sharks go, we do have a couple clips. So we'll start with this one first. So this is kind of like a fun way to visualize how these sharks move. So this is not the same species, but it's a similar. This almost looks like an arrowhead dogfish, Diania. So it's same family, but not the same species. That one is a cat shark, swimming in the top right. But this guy right here, coming into frame, I'm pretty sure this is a. Oh, there's a chimera, so not a shark at all. Chimera is a different kind of elazabrink. So, actually, no, not elazabrink. I have to double check that. Hold on. This is an emergency. Wait a minute. This is basic. Sorry, it's not an elazabrink. It's a cartilaginous fish. It is not a elazabrink. Sorry, I had to think about that for a second. So, oh man, sorry, the YouTube crashed because it was freaking out that I was freaking out. Okay, sorry. So. Basic shark classification. So sharks are a kind of cartilaginous fish. There are two major groups of cartilaginous fish: the holocephali, which are the chimeras, like this animal. This is a chimera, and then the elazabrinks, which are the sharks and rays. So elazabrinks are not the same as chimeras, but they're all cartilaginous fish. So this is a cousin of sharks, but not a shark. Sorry, I had to do a quick recap because I had Monday brain for a second. Really cool to see chimeras, though. They're also known as rabbitfish. This is even further removed taxonomically. This is a bony fish of some kind. Looks like a deep-water sculpin, or a scorpion fish, actually. It looks more like a scorpion fish. Getting even more removed, but you have might be deep-water corals or hydroids. There's an animal in the distance. One bony fish, and then a little cat shark photobombing. So this is filmed in Ireland, so it is a cold water coral reef. So really, what's kind of cool is like in there is like temperate coral and actually there's technically temperate coral in shallow water too, but no, in deep sea there is temperate coral as well. So sorry, I'm trying to get out of here so I can replay this clip. There we go. So getting back to this animal, this looks like Diania, which is also known as arrowhead dogfish, but I believe Diania is a kind of gulper shark, or similarly related. So, and it's kind of cool looking at its movements, where there's similar biology, where the mouth is underslung, and it's kind of interesting seeing how the shark is hovering close to the seabed. swimming slightly against the current too, which is kind of interesting. You can clearly see with the marine snow the current heading in the direction of the shark. So it looks like he's motionless, but he's really swimming against the current. So could be a strategy to anticipate any food coming their way. One more time, which that could happen. Shark predation is there's a lot of like interesting little techniques that sharks use, and there's one I learned recently this weekend which I never realized. So great white sharks apparently when they not always, but when they like to hunt, they like to hunt with the sun behind them, which is so cool. Like they actually have, like, I don't know if it's an intelligence or if it's just instinct, but white sharks tend to be hunting in the sun's path, where it's like they have a very clear field of view as they're approaching their prey item, but the sunlight is kind of like blinding to the prey that's looking at the great white, and look, like they can't see it because like the sun and the glare of the sun is kind of like shielding them, if you will. And it's like there was a study that was documenting white shark attack approaches and how they orient themselves really to the angle of the sun. There's a correlation there where they more often than not they actually do it. They actually make sure that they're in front of the sun as they close in on a seal, which is so cool. Like that's a really interesting hunting strategy, and I just think it's really amazing. So similarly with this shark, which is this, I'm going to slow it down. What appears to be, actually, I'll speed up a little bit. What appears to be a arrowhead dogfish, or Diania profundorum. It's swimming deliberately into the current because you could see the marine snow flying past it. So this is just a hypothesis, but it could be positioning itself at an ideal location for food, perhaps floating with the current to bump into it, or fish maybe trying to conserve energy and just swimming with the current or riding with the current, accidentally running into the shark. So that's just a guess, but I just find it really interesting that this particular individual is swimming into the current. So really cool footage. It's a quick clip, but it is pretty interesting to see. So okay, and yes, so Diania is a kind of gulper shark. I just had to check that really quick from Sharks of the World. We won't watch the whole clip again, but it's kind of cool to see a cat shark. I wonder if we can get a better view of that. Oh, thank you, Howard. Yep, I'm going to start that. Thank you. Yeah, no, I was blown away when I first heard of that. Like, I never knew that white sharks did that. And honestly, like, I know I've been talking about white sharks lately, and the only reason I'm doing that is because I'm taking on like a new like art project where it's like I draw a new shark every month, and this month is White Shark Month. So I've just been like doing a deep dive, kind of learn more about the biology. And that was just a fact that I just never knew before. So it's really astounding, that, and then just the fact that they're kind of more intelligent than other species, or arguably more intelligent than other species, just because of the fact that they need to be in order to hunt the complex predators that they do hunt, as far as seals go. Yeah. So there's another arrowhead dogfish just right out of frame. You can kind of see it, but it's just not framed well. So, and definitely agree, it makes sense as far as just being adapted to hunt complex prey. You need kind of a complex brain, and it's so interesting comparing white sharks with basking sharks. And like the most fit animal, or the most fit in nature, is like whatever is best suited to its environment. So it doesn't have to be necessarily, the biggest, the baddest, the smartest. It's just like whatever is most adapt, whatever that entails. And comparing white sharks and basking sharks is really cool, where they're similarly related. They're both lambdiforms, but white sharks actively hunt seals and like this very acrobatic, agile prey item that requires a lot of calculus in terms of trying to predict the movements and figure out where the prey item is. And so they've evolved these proportionally larger brains, whereas basket sharks they hunt or consume plankton, which is this sedentary, free floating prey item that's just everywhere. And so you don't need to exert a lot of energy to scoop up plankton. And so with that, the basket shark proportionally is one of the smallest brains of sharks in the shark world. And part of that is suited for its hunting strategy, where it just is swimming and peacefully just swimming with its open mouth, scooping up plankton. There's a similar theory with dinosaurs, comparing a carnivore like Tyrannosaurus with an herbivore like Stegosaurus, where Stegosaurus has been theorized to have some of the smallest brains of dinosaurs, and it's a plant eater, whereas Tyrannosaurus is theorized to have a proportionally kind of large brain, and that's like this apex mega predator, from the Cretaceous period. So there's something going on there which is kind of interesting as far as it's if you have to do a complex task, as far as, and like actively hunting an active prey item is complex, it's likely that you probably are working with maybe a larger brain, as opposed to, and it's like evolutionary conserving energy in evolution, where if you have a very simple prey item, you don't necessarily need to waste energy evolving a complex brain when you can just eat something sedentary, easy to capture. So it's just really cool. It's just interesting stuff to think about. So, but speaking of feeding strategies, there is an interesting model when I was trying to find footage for the little Gulper Shark that I've never seen before, and I think it's such a great visualizer, and it's somewhat closely related groups. So I'm excited to show this to you guys. So this is the 24-hour feeding cycle of a southern dogfish. So you can barely see it. We'll hit play in a little bit, and we might have to play this video multiple times just to kind of get an idea of what we're seeing. But this is the continental shelf. So top is the surface. So this is all underwater. In this model, the red zone is the continental shelf. The actual content, the plane of the continental, just the continental shelf. And then the yellow area is the shelf edge, and then the yellow into the green is the continental slope. So these are really important areas that mark a really big transition in the ocean, where a lot of ocean currents, like deep water currents, will be along this abyssal plain. Like this blue area is like really deep water, the abyssal plain. Deep ocean currents will actually be kind of moving along this area, and when they hit the continental shelf or slope, the currents will rise and actually bring nutrients from the deep up to the surface. And when you get closer to the surface, you get more solar energy. And with this mixing of water, with this combination of solar energy and nutrients, you start to get kind of like this interesting reaction where a lot of phytoplankton, they get some of the sunlight that they need and the nutrients that they need, and they actually start blooming. And this area, this shelf area, is a vibrant zone of life. So it's actually an extremely productive zone, because with the increase of phytoplankton, you have an increase of zooplankton. With the increase of zooplankton, you have forage fish. And then with forage fish, you have bigger predators like these dogfish. So we'll do a quick visualizer. So this is a school of lanternfish coming into frame, and at night. And they're swimming close to the surface, and this dogfish is taking advantage of that school. Or that timing, and hunting the lanternfish, and then goes back down to the depths in daytime. So we'll play that again a little bit. We'll play that at a little bit of a slower speed. But these areas are extremely productive. As a very personal example, where I live, if let's say, so I live in Virginia, like the state of Virginia, or Commonwealth of Virginia, and let's say if you're in Virginia Beach, if you take a boat out from Virginia Beach and keep heading east, you're going over this shallow area that is like a nutrient deficient zone, or it's just like there's not really a lot going on. It's not like a colorful coral reef. It's not like these highly productive rocky reefs or anything like in New England. It's kind of like a flat sandy plain with there's just not a lot going on. We have a lot of wildlife, but like there's not. It's kind of like a quiet area, and it's a nutrient deficient zone, so there's not really a lot of animal activity in that area. But then when you keep going east and you eventually hit the continental shelf here, everything changes, and you have this explosion of activity where I've literally seen in this area common dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, like offshore bottlenose dolphins, Atlantic spotted dolphins, hammerhead sharks, humpback whales, minke. Have I seen minke whales? Humpback. I think I've seen one minke whale in Virginia at least, but humpback whales, pilot whales, like a lot of activity is happening here, and that's just like a local example of like what happens when you hit this transition area, and in the Mid-Atlantic area in particular, you have the Gulf Stream, the warm water current of the Gulf Stream hitting across the continental shelf. So it's just this incredible, it literally is Blue Planet. Like the minute you get to the shelf, it's like you're living an episode of Blue Planet, which is wild as far as like hundreds of dolphins, and like not even an exaggeration, hundreds of them just in the open sea, just having fun. It's a really productive area. So we're going to hit this again. And it's because like a shelf is just such a unique mix of activity where ocean currents bring in nutrients. You're kind of coming into sunlight as you get shallower and shallower. And what's kind of cool in terms of what's happening here, I'm going to slow this down. Playback speed. I'm so glad that YouTube allows you to slow things down. So lanternfish are undertaking what is called a deal migration. So they're coming up from the deep water at night to take advantage of the bounty of the day, where they're as they get into shallower and shallower water, they get to munch on zooplankton and phytoplankton, like zooplankton who have been able to munch on phytoplankton that bloomed during the daytime. The lanternfish can come up and scoop up what they can as they get into shallower water. So they're hitting across the shelf to get to these areas. And in the center of the frame here, it's hard to see, but there's a dogfish that is going after the lanternfish. A lot of deep water sharks do this, where they will actually follow deep water forage fish like lanternfish up to the shallows at night, and then follow them when they retreat in the daytime. So you can kind of see that happening here, and I will zoom in. This is such a great model, actually, like a really, really cool visualizer or visualization of the 24-hour feeding cycle of a southern dogfish. So, alright, so we'll play that one more time. We'll do this half speed, and we'll kind of zoom in on the dogfish just to kind of have a better idea of what it's doing. So, okay, so dogfish is in the center of the frame. So dogfish is kind of swimming up towards the shelf, almost in anticipation of the lanternfish, who are now coming into the picture. The sun goes down, so the lanternfish are all over the place at night. Dogfish is on the shelf edge, and then munching the schools of lanternfish that it's able to come across. So cool. Lanternfish are still foraging in the shallows, and then as we get closer to dawn, they retreat back into deeper waters. So it's such an amazing visual of what's going on, and this is again a very common aspect of deep water wildlife, just in general. So, yep, 100% agree, Howard. It's a really cool model. It's just like, and like what an incredible way to like this is like one of the big benefits of just a lot of our technology and technological advancements for marine science, where I could not have imagined this model happening. And like it sounds silly because like the past 30 years have been just incredible visual effects in other areas, but all the data points required to kind of visualize, kind of just visualize like what an accurate movement is in terms of this part of the world. I couldn't imagine really seeing that, and it's incredible to see that now, like see that in action. So, and I think my last point on this kind of like feeding strategy is look how energy from the surface is being collected by deep water animals and then being returned back into the depths, or vice versa. Energy from the depths are going into the shallow water. So there's such an interplay between the midnight zone, the twilight zone, and the sunlit zone. Like these ecosystems are all linked. So what happens in the sunlit zone does affect a lot of what's going on in the midnight zone twilight zone, as twilight zone predators come up to the surface and then move back down. So famous animals that undertake DL migrations include sharks, like a lot of the deep water shark species, the lanternfish that we see, and then sperm whales. Sperm whales are very, very famous for going down into the twilight zone to hunt squid. Although I guess that's not a DL migration because it's not really tied to the timing of the day. They just go after squid when it suits them. So, getting back to the little gulper shark specifically, we'll read fish base and shark references, and then we'll take a look at some research to kind of learn more what we can learn, or see what we can see about this group as a whole. So gulper sharks come from the word centrophorus. Centrum means prickle or sharp point, and forus means bearer or carrier, referring to the grooved spines in the dorsal fin. So it's the carrier of spines. It's kind of cool because dogfish, although I guess the name dogfish is squalus, which means sea fish or shark. So it's interesting that the genus name for this group is literally referring to the spines of the dorsal fins. Oyado is derived from agalots or ahulots, vernacular for dogfish sharks in Mediterranean, based on the Mediterranean squalus, now applied to the gulper shark from the eastern Indian Ocean and North Atlantic. Interesting. Fishbase is also reporting the species occurs from 50 to 1400 meters. So, oh, Howard, I've heard an audio recording of one of those from migrations. It was wild. Is this a sperm whale migration, or that's really cool? I think Blue Planet had a really, I forget if it was Blue Planet or Blue Planet 2, but there was a really good episode where they had a sperm whale doing its, I don't know if you call it sonar, but doing its kind of like its clicks. I guess it's sonar clicks, where as it gets closer to its prey item, the clicks get more and more frequent. And then suddenly they stop once the sperm whale is closing in on its prey. So that would be really cool to hear. Probably really terrifying, but really cool to hear. So, let's see. Common deepwater dogfish of the outer continental shelves and upper slopes, on or near the bottom. Adults feed on bony fish and squid. So, not much else new from Fishbase other than the name. Common names for this. Oh, this is kind of cool. This is interesting. So, the common names for this species are actually surprisingly interesting. So, the Endeavor dogfish is another common name for it. We have little gulper shark, we have southern dogfish, so that is what this video was referring to. So southern dogfish is another name for this shark. Southern dogfish, little gulper shark, Endeavor shark. So I'm curious where Endeavor shark comes from, and I want to say there's a ship called the HMS Endeavor, but I don't know if that was a research ship. Oh, it is a research ship, okay. Let's see. The HMS Endeavour was a Royal Navy research vessel that Lieutenant James Cook commanded to Tahiti, New Zealand, and Australia on his first voyage of discovery from 1768 to 1771. Interesting. So, famous ship, apparently. So I wonder, since it was a research ship, I wonder if this was, well, let's see the first description of the species. The species was first described in 1810. Okay. Okay. So actually, so maybe it was part of how. Let's see, decommissioned in 1774. Actually, no. Okay, so there's no way that this ship was involved with the dogfish, but maybe it was named in honor of the ship. I'm not really sure why this is called an Endeavour dogfish. So it reminds me of a fun marine science story. Well, not fun, but a marine science legend is the It's the HMS Challenger. I want to say. Let's see, HMS Challenger. Flagship Australia. Royal Society London. Okay, so HMS Challenger, right. Okay, so the stories of this ship. There's a marine science, a marine biology legend of this ship. So, so kind of the joke of marine biology is that the expectation is you're this super cool, colorful person who is swimming in tropical waters and enjoying the presence of sea turtles and sharks and dolphins every day. And the reality of marine biology is you were likely sitting in a lab, like going over data and doing a lot of math and sampling and you're staring under a microscope at a piece of muscle for months, it's very the reality is typically it's kind of more mundane, and you do get field work, you do get to go into the water, but it's like the reality of marine biology is that it's a lot of minutia that you have to be patient with, and it's not like the movie version of marine biology. And I don't mean to show that as a disheartening thing. I mean to show that as more of like an accurate thing, where the movie version of marine biology is like what's actually funny is like the movie version of marine biology is being a scuba diver. Like that's really kind of what it is. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. But anyway, there's a legend about the HMS Challenger where part of the research aims of the HMS Challenger were to be at sea, to study marine life, and to do plankton trawls. So scientists would be collecting plankton and counting plankton and studying the plankton under the microscope. And there's a legend that some scientists on the Challenger went insane because they were counting too much plankton. And this is like one of the oldest legends in, I guess, the field of marine biology. But yeah, like it was just so many days at sea with nothing to do but counting plankton. Allegedly, according to legend, drove marine scientists insane. So, I don't know. I don't know if there's any truth to that or any stock in that, but that is a legend I did hear when I was kind of learning more about the field, which I think is kind of funny. So, anyway, enough about the Challenger. We'll see what else we can learn about the not dogfish, the little Gulper Shark. So, a couple other interesting international names. So we have Cuelva, or Galudito in Spanish, Bocanera, or Sagri in Italian, and then Lixa, or Lixa Pequeña in Portuguese, Lixa de Ley. So a couple cool different names in different languages. Let's see. Common deep-water dogfish. Feeds on bony fish such as myctophids and squid. So myctophids are the lanternfish. So really cool to see that this model is accurate. That the little gulper shark, also known as southern dogfish, actually goes after lanternfish. So great visualizer of a little gulper shark's hunting strategy. Or not hunting strategy, but like hunting movements. let's see. I think what we'll do is, as far as like the basic biology, there's not as much known about the species. So I think what we'll do is we'll kind of get into more of the nitty gritty of the shark science, starting with maybe this one. Let's see. There's one that I really wanted to kind of take a closer look at. Okay, there we go. This is it. This is it. So, the title is hilarious because I think it's really hard to have a quippy marine science title, but this one is really funny. Call Me by My Name: Unraveling the Taxonomy of the Gulper Shark genus Centrophoros in the Mediterranean Sea through an integrated taxonomic approach. I feel like this is deliberately referencing the movie, but we'll see. They prove I'm human. But the reason why I wanted to take a look at this is I said earlier in the stream that Gulper sharks are kind of notorious as far as their classification. And I'm excited to see if this study, even though it's focused just on the Mediterranean, if it goes into more detail about the history of Gulper sharks. So this is by Andrea Bellodi, Anna Benevenuto, Ricardo Melis, Antonello Mulas, Monica Barone, Claudio Barria, Alessia Cariani, Laura Carugati. This is a huge study. Arcontia Chatzispiro, Monique Desrochers, Alice Ferrari, Javier Gualart, Ferd Hemida, Cecilia Mancusi, Carlotta Mazzoldi, Sergio Ramirez Amaro, Javier Rey, Danilo Scanella, Fabrizio Serena, Fausto Tinti, Adriana Vela, Maria Cristina Folessa, and Rita Canas. So here we go. So huge partnerships. A lot of names on the study. So here we go. The current shift of fishery efforts towards the deep sea is raising concern about the vulnerability of deep water sharks, which are often poorly studied and characterized by problematic taxonomy. For instance, in the Mediterranean Sea, the taxonomy of the genus Centrophoros has not been clearly unraveled yet. Since proper identification of the species is fundamental for the correct assessment and management, this study aims at clarifying the taxonomy of this genus in a Mediterranean basin through an integrated taxonomic approach. We analyzed a total of 281 gulper sharks collected from various Mediterranean, Atlantic, and Indian Ocean waters. Molecular data obtained from cytochrome C oxidase subunit 1, 16S ribosomal RNA, NADH dehydrogenase subunit 2, and a portion of a nuclear 28S ribosomal DNA gene region have highlighted the presence of a unique mitochondrial clad in the Mediterranean Sea. There's a very long-winded way of saying that there is potentially a unique species in the Mediterranean, or a unique population. The morphometric results confirm these findings, supporting the presence of a unique and distinctive morphological group comprising all Mediterranean individuals. The data strongly indicate the occurrence of a single Centrophoros species in the Mediterranean, ascribable to Centrophoros cf. Oyado, and suggests the need for a revision of the systematics of the genus in the area. Whew. So, what's funny is that in high school, as far as like a language requirement, like in my school we had to have a language requirement, either like French or Spanish, and you can take Latin as part of that, which is what I did. And I satisfied my college language requirement with Latin as well. And it's really funny how Latin is a quote-unquote dead language, but is extremely useful for a lot of fields, including science, because a lot of the descriptions here, they're actually based in Latin. And all scientific names are Latin or Greek as well. So, but kind of rambling, but they say that science is a completely different language, and it's true. It's just like a lot of this is really, it literally is like speaking a different language. So anyway, I will skim through this. I am going to try to read most of this, but just because like there's not a lot of info on this species or this group, so I do want to kind of savor any kind of information on gulper sharks or their world. But I won't read everything. So we'll see what we can see. The Mediterranean Sea is a marine biodiversity hotspot. Among the numerous taxa inhabiting the basin, elasmobranchs play an important role, acting as apex predators with strong top-down effects on regulating and structure marine communities. The global decline of coastal fish stocks over the last 2 centuries has led many industrial fisheries to expand their activities to deeper open seas areas. So, really scary, by the way, because shallow water fish are the best adapted, arguably, to handle fishing pressure, and if they're collapsing, I mean, you're not going to find a stronghold in the deep. I know I talk about orange ruffio a lot, but that's like the poster child of overexploiting a deep water species that hit the United States. That used to be in the mid 2000s a very popular deep water fish, and thankfully we're really like, I feel like there's been a lot of awareness raised about orange ruffy and why you should not eat it at all, because it's a slow to grow, slow reproduce species. But anyway, in the deep ocean. This has also occurred in the Mediterranean Sea, where in the last century, commercial fisheries began to employ more sophisticated technologies and equipment, such as bottom trawls, gill nets, and long lines, to more effectively exploit less productive waters. Unfortunately, these fishing practices represent the principal driving factor for bycatch of non-target fishes such as sharks. Deep water sharks appear to be extremely vulnerable to fishing pressure and overexploitation due to their life history traits, which include slow growth, longevity, late maturity, and low fecundity. Several authors have pointed out the high potential risk of extinction for deepwater sharks and have confirmed that information is still lacking on many of these species related to both their biological characteristics and taxonomic resolution. So that's a really good point, especially since I feel like a lot of the species that are least concerned that we see, they're either small or they're deep water or both. And with the latter part, deep water sharks, sometimes it kind of creates like a false sense of security, where it's like, oh, deep water sharks avoid human pressure and therefore they're doing okay. But this makes a really good point that the biology of a deep water shark is still one of very slow growth and slow reproduction. So it's not really a group of sharks to take for granted and take advantage of. It really is a group that you have to just leave alone. So many deep water species are endangered, but a lot of the ones that we've seen, like the lantern sharks, it depends, but many lantern sharks are least concerned. It's sad to see that the little gulper shark is endangered, so we'll keep looking. Thus, the disentanglement of taxonomic uncertainties represents a fundamental step in the correct management of marine resources in general, and specifically elasmobranchs, as shown by recent studies on Squalus blainville and Raja polystigma. So 2 studies on a dogfish and a ray. So, among the elasmobranchs, Centrophorus, described by Mueller and Allais in 1837. So Mueller and Allais, that's one of my favorite names to see in shark science. They named a few species, including the bull shark. So the bull shark was originally described by Mueller and Allais in 1837. But Centrophorus, order Squaliformes, family Centrophoridae, is one of the genera with the most debated taxonomy. This genus comprises a group of cosmopolitan deep-sea sharks inhabiting the benthopelagic waters of the outer continental shelves and upper continental slope between 50 and 2350 meters deep from temperate to tropical waters across all oceans. That depth is impressive, by the way. I think the deepest shark I've ever heard of is maybe 4,000 meters, and I think that's a Portuguese dogfish, but I could be wrong. But 2,000, like if you're past 1,000, I mean 1,000 is impressive, but once you get to like 2,000, it's like woof, that's really freaky. So Yes, Howard. Great observation, by the way. As you illustrated, deep water species are still reliant on the upper water column for food, 100%. So either doing the DL migrations like we saw in that model, or marine snow. So marine snow being that all the decaying matter or detritus from the surface kind of falling down into the depths. That is organic matter being recycled into the environment. So for deep water systems, if you see a decrease in productivity at the surface, it's going to have an effect on deep water environments as well. So. In the Mediterranean basin, species of the genus always carry only one embryo per pregnancy, with gestation lasting up to 2 to 3 years, followed sometimes by a long resting period. Over 30 nominal species have been recently considered valid in this genus, but its taxonomy has not been fully unraveled. This is really cool. I'm excited to read this study because there's not a lot of let me back up. There's a few groups of sharks that have very infamous taxonomy debates. So the ones that I can think of, the Gulper Sharks, I think, are a whole other animal. I think Gulper Sharks they probably take the cake for the most debated, or like they're up there. Like Gulper Sharks are one of the worst as far as trying to piece together who's who. But what's funny is like sand tiger sharks, they took a while too. There's been a lot of interesting questions and revisions, and then tiger sharks, similarly, we talked about how both tiger sharks and sand tiger sharks very recently became their own families because we realized that they're just so unique and very different from their cousins as far as their biology goes. And then I guess cat sharks. Cat sharks have been revised pretty extensively as well. A lot of shifting in the groups of cat sharks. So tiger sharks, sand tigers, cat sharks, and gulper sharks. Those are probably the ones that are like the most. But gulper sharks are up there as far as like the ones that are the most tricky taxonomically. So. A global revision of this genus is still incomplete and is difficult due to the high degree of morphological similarity between several nominal taxa. Therefore, the hard task of species discrimination is urgently needed. The original descriptions of the first species currently included in the genus are so poor that we are not sure that they actually describe as centrophorus. Wow. In addition, several holotypes do not exist or could not be located, while others are incomplete and or in poor condition, nullifying the comparison between original types of species and problematic specimens. Interesting. I feel better that I may have lost my gulper shark jaws, but so did scientists. They lost their holotypes. So it's something about these sharks. Lastly, some morphological diagnostic characters may vary with ontogeny. So as a refresher, ontogeny is physical changes with growth. So little gulper sharks may look a little different from big ones. Getting back to white shark biology, because I've just been studying it this month, little white sharks have kind of narrow teeth that are meant for fishes, and then an ontogenic difference, or ontological difference? I forget what the right term is, but as far as ontogeny goes, the difference between juveniles and adults is that adults have their teeth get wider and wider and wider because they get more and more adapt to hunting seals, like marine mammals. Another one is tiger sharks, where baby tiger sharks, like little ones, have actual like spots. And then when they get bigger, they like an ontological difference is that they have stripes as they age, like faded stripes or bars, really. But they get their tiger stripes when they're older. Last one is the zebra shark. Zebra sharks have black and white stripes and spots to resemble sea snakes when they're pups. But then when they get older, they develop this beautiful beige color with all those little rosettes, so they actually have like a leopardy looking appearance. So as they get bigger, but those are ontogenic shifts. So basically changes throughout a shark's lifetime. So and thus many cases distinct ontogenic stages of the same species may erroneously be considered as different species. This is something. What's kind of funny is I've actually run into this with bony fish, where there's a lot of bony fish that look completely different from when they're young to when they are adults. So there's sea bass that we have here that their colors change so much throughout their lifetime that I've more than once mistaken them for different fish species. There's a beautiful, I mentioned spadefish I think very early tonight, but baby spadefish are these beautiful like little black fish with red eyes, and then they grow up to be these beautiful silverfish, which are silverfish with black stripes. So it's just like as a fish grows or a shark grows, it could be striking how different they look from pups to adults. It's pretty interesting. So, but yeah, this confusion of saying that these are two different species is understandable. Man, a good terrestrial example is probably be the American alligator, where baby alligators have black and yellow stripes, and when they get to be adults, they fade into these like massive gray or black, mostly gray when they get really big creatures. So, but those are examples of how juveniles and adults, they just will look different, and there could be confusion about them being different species. Add to this a long history of confusion, rectifications, and mixing of data in the definition of characters have increased in identification difficulties. On the whole, the lack of clear information from original descriptions and the absence of well-preserved holotypes have compromised the possibility to establish criteria to clearly distinguish species with similar morphology and to assign them a correct species name. This complication represents a limit for the correct identification of specimens, with implications for species conservation and management purposes. The studies performed in the last few years on species in the genus Centrophorus were aimed at classifying the taxonomic ambiguities between some species. The integration of molecular taxonomy techniques and traditional morphological analyses have allowed us to distinguish species that share a similar morphology, such as Centrophilus granulosus and Centrophilus oyado. Previously discriminated mainly by their maximum size and the size of sexual maturity. In the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea, and actually, it makes sense that I could not find this shark in this book. This book is not that old, it's 2015, but it makes sense that Centrophorus oyado is not in here because it's part of this mess of we don't know where it belongs. So, Centrophorus granulosus is probably in this book, isn't it? Just want to check that. It probably is in. Yep, it is here. So the classic gulper shark, Centrophorus granulosus, is in this book. So Centrophorus oyado is probably considered to be that species at the time of that book's publication, and maybe it's changed in recent years. It looks like it has. So. Let's see. In the Atlantic Ocean and Mediterranean Sea, these two nominal species were historically confused either by using different names for the same species or using the same name for different species. In the Mediterranean, both Centrophorus granulosus and Centrophorus oyado have been reported regularly, and were both included in Mediterranean shark species list by Serena 2005, following precautionary principle. Oh, Howard, yes, 100%. I just saw your comment. Great book. This Sharks of the World series, for anybody who doesn't know, there's a couple of newer versions now, but this is by David A. Ebert, Sarah Fowler, and Mark Dando. So Sharks of the World, it's kind of like the definitive catalog of any shark, like every shark known to man. So the newest version, like the real encyclopedia, like the real like core text, is the blue one with the tiger shark on it, which was published in 2021, I want to say. But there's also a new pocket version, which is, I think it has a gulper shark on it, actually. Hold on. Sorry. So we're going to take a break. Sharks of the World book. Okay, perfect. I think it does have one, doesn't it? Okay. Okay, so there's a lot of different versions of this book. Okay, so here we go. We'll do don't want to advertise a particular company, but okay. So this is the one that I was thinking of. So this is the newest. Oh no, why is it showing me that? That's weird. Hold on. This one? Visit. It's by Princeton University Press, which actually is they make solid stuff. So here we go. No thanks. Okay, so pocket. There is a Gulper Shark here. Look at that. So Gulper Shark. We have a an angular rough shark here. We've got a woebegone here, and then we have a that almost looks like a winghead shark on the top. Because the hammerhead looks a little too wide, so that could be a winghead. But anyway, this is the newest version of the Pocket Guide to the Sharks of the World, but I highly recommend it. This was updated, I want to say, like 2024? Oh no, I guess this is 2021. So this is literally the companion to the Tiger Shark book, the Sharks of the World book. But these are fantastic. This is the best catalog of any, and I'll just put this in the chat for any future viewers. Best catalog for any kind of like every shark is in here. And actually, let's take a look at the newest. Can I find the newest version? Hold on. If I click David Ebert, probably should find. There we go. Oh, actually, okay. This is a whole collection. Okay, so David Ebert is an incredible shark biologist. Excuse me. So Ghost Sharks, a fully illustrated guide to the chimeras of the world, which I've never seen before. It looks beautiful. Field guides of sharks raised in chimeras of East Coast of North America. I love this book. This is probably my favorite, just because it's my backyard and it's the newest version. It has like a lot of cool specifics on sharks, like biological like interesting tags in terms of like maximum temperature, maximum depth. It's a really great book. Love it. They're all interrelated, by the way. These are all kind of different versions of the same essence, really. The Pocket Guide is fantastic. This is really the definitive tome of sharks. This is Sharks of the World, a complete guide. It's the newest version of, with the tiger shark on it. It's the newest version of this incredible series. This is really cool and very timely as well. Field Guide of the Sharks and Raised Chimeras of Europe and the Mediterranean. Really exciting, and this is a really high priority conservation area. So this is a companion to the North American Field Guide, so it's so cool. And I think they've retired the other books. There's other versions of these books out there, but like older versions. But I'm gonna put these in, put this in the chat for future viewers as well, because it's so cool. Like this series is so cool. So, but we'll get back to the research. Here we go. So, sorry. It is a worthwhile tangent because it's just like those books are just so good. So, let's see. So we talked about this, about the let's see. However, Verissimo et al. And references therein have suggested the occurrence of a single species in the basin, so Mediterranean Sea. In addition, other recent studies which employed molecular techniques for the identification of sharks in the Mediterranean found a unique species of Centrophorus, reported as Centrophorus oiado or Centrophorus granulosus, and more recently as Centrophorus cf granulosus or Centrophorus cf oiado. So I forget what CF means, but I mean, like I know what it means. It means that this might be its own species, but it's most closely related to Centrophorus granulosus. But I forget what CF literally stands for. But if you see any kind of animal, typically like dinosaurs or prehistoric animals or like weird new animals, they will often be given CF, as in this is kind of like a gulper shark, or kind of like, you know, like it could be. It's kind of like Centrophilus granulosus, but we don't know if it actually is. So. The recent assessment of species diversity of chondrichthyes in the Mediterranean Sea has suggested the possible occurrence of one valid species and has reiterated the need for taxonomic revision on the genus in the area since, to date, there is no comprehensive study resolving this taxonomic ambiguity. Most of the published works do not cover the entire basin and often employ either a morphological or morphological or the molecular method, but not both, to address this taxonomic problem. So morphological is literally taking a look at the physical features of the animal and seeing if there's any differences, like as far as like measurements or size or number of vertebrae. Molecular method is looking at the DNA and seeing how different the DNA is, as well as other parts at that level. Both is good, but you know, morphology and let's see, like there's a phrase that like genotype is phenotype, or like genotype always shows phenotype, or phenotype always shows genotype, meaning that the physical features that you're seeing in creatures are representations of the DNA. Like they represent how closely or distantly the DNA is related. Or the DNA. I guess that's not like a really like hard and fast rule, but it's good that they're looking at both methods, but. You know, I don't think focusing on just one is technically bad, personally, but because the genetics will be reflected in the physiology of the animal. So I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, it's good. It's good to have both, I guess. It's been widely demonstrated the integration of both molecular and morphological methods for species identification is more effective to validate taxonomic assignment. So. I'll trust that. Yeah, I mean, I trust that. So, this study aims at clarifying the I shouldn't say that. Not trust as in, like, I don't believe it, but trust as in, like, no, that makes sense. I mean, I guess if you're combining two separate data sources, the truth is somewhere in between, so. This study aims at clarifying the taxonomical issue regarding the genus Centrophilus in the Mediterranean Sea by combining both morphological and molecular methods. Samples were collected from different localities throughout the basin in order to obtain a representative coverage of the whole Mediterranean Sea. Sequence data from 3 mitochondrial markers, cytochrome C oxidase subunit 1, 16S ribosomal RNA, and NADH dehydrogenase subunit 2, plus a portion of a nuclear 28S ribosomal DNA gene region, were obtained and analyzed to delineate discrete taxonomic units and to assess inter- and intraspecific genetic diversity and variability. Furthermore, traditional and landmark-based morphometry were employed to assess potential morphological differences and to provide useful diagnostic characters for discrimination of species within the genus Centrophilus. We will not read the materials and methods in detail, but we'll take a look at, looks like these are the subregions of the Mediterranean. These could be the ecoregions, although these actually look too clean. Actually no, these are way too clean. These are too sharply defined. So let's see what this is. Map of geographic subareas of the Food and Agricultural Organization regions, showing sampling areas. Red color highlights the geographic areas, including the sampling design. Gotcha. So it looks like they sampled mostly the Mediterranean for gulper sharks, but they also sampled Western Africa and Southern Africa. So. Let's see. The species they were looking at were just undescribed Centrophilus granulosus, which is the classic gulper shark. Centrophilus oiado is the little gulper shark. And Centrophilus squamosus, I don't know if I have this one in this book, because this group is just so confusing. Let's see. Native sharks. The leaf scale gulper shark. Okay. So leaf scale gulper shark is Centrophilus squamosus. Alright, so we'll skip the methods. We're going to skip this. Okay, wow. So this is the colors represent the different regions. Let's see. Medium joined network of the haplotypes of the concatenated fragments. The circle size is proportional to the frequency of each haplotype. The segments represent one mutational event. So really, really very interesting looking diagram. Let's see. Okay, so this is where it gets kind of interesting. So this is a Bayesian phylogenetic tree of the COI haplotypes. Near the nodes are the support values shown as posterior probability. In the red, the haplotypes are individual sequenced in the present study. On the right of the tree, the assigned OTU, the BIN, the clade identified by the BCMA analysis, as well as putative nominal species are indicated. Okay, so in this round of comparing DNA, you get to see that there is a. Let me make sure I got this right. So you have the little Gulper Shark in section A over here, Centrophorus cephaloiado. And you have it compared to a bunch of other ones. Centrophorus Isodon, Pinus, Atraumatus. You have Centrophorus squamosus, and then you have Diania. So Diania, which is this kind of shark. These are also birdbeak dogfish or arrowhead dogfish. Diania is a kind of Gulper shark. So here's one right here. And it's kind of cool to see that in that phylogenetic tree, it's actually, I mean, it is a kind of Gulper shark, but it's kind of cool to see that literally genetically it's just the same group, where it's an offshoot where Diania is its own genus and Centrophorus it's its own genus here, but they are both Gulper sharks. So here's a little bit more of a closer analysis, just as far as how these are related. This visualization is interesting. Analysis of the principal coordinates scatterplot representing the morphometric differences observed among the species classified as a result of the genetic analysis. Specimens of Centrophorus cephaloiado collected in the Atlantic Ocean are circled in red. So it looks like, so the blue triangles are the little Gulper shark, the red triangles are the leaf scale Gulper shark, and the purple diamonds are the classic Gulper shark. So it's interesting that the leaf scale Gulper shark is truly a separate species, it looks like. Even the classic Gulper shark looks pretty distinct from the little Gulper shark. All of these little Gulper shark potentials, they seem pretty closely related. Although the Atlantic little Gulper sharks, it looks like they're somewhere in between little Gulper sharks and the classic Gulper shark here. It's kind of interesting. Here's like specific physical features that they're comparing. So it's different views or different versions of similar study. So we won't read the entire discussion, but I do want to kind of take a quick look at it. And also, it's almost 10:30, so please let me know in the comments what shark, or a couple of shark suggestions of species you'd like to review next week. And I'll leave, I think, a couple suggestions as well. So, let's see. I found a really cool one, but I'm open to any suggestions for next week. There is this interesting shark called a lizard cat shark, Schroederichthys saurosqualis. So that literally means, I mean, it's like dinosaur, like saur. Saur is the Latin word for lizard. So it's it's the lizard shark, which sounds kind of cool. But but I'm open. I'm open to anything. Since we've covered a lot of species, I think going forward, I will like leave at least one suggestion for next week or for the following stream, just because we've covered a lot of species already, so it will be helpful as far as kind of keeping track who do we have and who do we not have left. So we've covered 147 sharks so far. So I guess 145-ish since we've had a couple special episodes, but still, it's quite a lot of ground, and yet there's still how many sharks left? 400 left. So it's kind of lot to look forward to. Oh my goodness. But anyway, discussion. The present study was conceived to clarify the taxonomic uncertainty associated with the genus Centrophorus throughout the Mediterranean Sea, integrating molecular and morphological methods. Let's see. Again, I won't read all of this. The occurrence of common shared haplotypes among western, central, and eastern locations in the Mediterranean Sea suggests a lack of significant genetic differentiation among sites and corroborates a hypothesis of a lack of geographic segregation in the region. Let's see. Haplotypes sharing among conspecifics can indicate that several allopatric populations are in fact part of the cosmopolitan species characterized by significant gene flow. The genetic similarity could be explained by radiation in the molecular evolution rate in this taxon, possibly due to long generation times associated with the extreme longevity of these organisms. Okay, that's actually really cool. Wait a minute. I'm going to read that again. The genetic similarity could be explained by reduction in the molecular evolution rate in this taxon, possibly due to long generation times associated with the extreme longevity of these organisms. So because gulper sharks get to be so old and reproduce so late in life, there's not a lot of opportunity for genetic diversification. So the genes amongst the species the gene pool is relatively conserved across large areas potentially. So moreover, the existence of deepwater marine superhighways may facilitate long-distance movement and connectivity across wide ranges. I've never heard of this term before. Deepwater marine superhighways. I'd like to look that up, actually. And I think I understand what that means. But I've never heard of it. I would like to see kind of an official explanation. BBC Wildlife Magazine. Kind of want... Yeah, let's see. Deep sea DNA study reveals marine life's global connectivity. Okay. Beneath the cold, dark... I'll just read this Oceanographic magazine. Beneath the cold, dark, and highly pressurized world of the deep sea, marine life has been found to be far more globally collected than previously imagined, a finding made by researchers at Museums Victoria, which could prove transformational understanding of life in the furthest depth of the ocean. Published this week in Nature, so Nature is actually a very prominent publication. This landmark study maps the global distribution and evolutionary relationship of brittle stars, the ancient spiny animals found within both shallow coastal waters and the deepest abyssal plains, from the equators to the poles. By analyzing the DNA of thousands of specimens collected on hundreds of research voyages and preserved in natural history museums around the world, scientists have uncovered how these deep-sea invertebrates have quietly migrated across entire oceans over millions of years, linking ecosystems from Iceland to Tasmania. A dataset labeled unprecedented by those working with it, the study offers new insights into how marine life has evolved and dispersed across the ocean over the past 100 million years. You might think of the deep sea as remote and isolated, but for many animals on the seafloor, it's actually connected super highly, says Dr. Tim O'Hara, Senior Curator of Marine Invertebrates at Museums Victoria Research Institute and lead author on the study. Over long time scales, deep sea species have expanded their ranges by thousands of kilometers. This connectivity is a global phenomenon that's gone unnoticed until now. Using DNA from 2,699 brittle star specimens housed in 48 natural history museums across the globe, this is the most comprehensive study of its kind. Brittle stars have lived on Earth for over 480 million years. It can be found at depths of more than 3,500 meters. Unlike marine life in shallow waters, which is restricted by temperate boundaries, deep-sea environments are more stable and allow species to disperse over vast distances. Many brittle stars produce yolk-rich larvae that could drift on deep ocean currents for extended periods, giving them the ability to colonize far-flung regions. These animals don't have fins or wings, but they still manage to span entire oceans, says Dr. O'Hara. The secret lies in their biology. Their larvae can survive for a long time in cold water, hitching a ride on slow-moving deep-sea currents. The research has gone lengths to show that deep-sea communities, particularly those at temperate latitudes, are more closely related across regions than their shallow water counterparts. For example, marine animals found off southern Australia share close evolutionary links with those in North Atlantic on the other side of the planet. At the same time, it highlights that the deep sea is not uniform, and while species can spread widely, factors such as extinction events, environmental change, and geography have created a patchwork of biodiversity across the seafloor. It's a paradox. The deep sea is highly connected, but it's also incredibly fragile, says Dr. O'Hara. Understanding how life is distributed and moves through this vast environment is essential if we want to protect it, especially as threats from deep sea mining and climate change increase. The museum believes that not only does this research transform our understanding of deep sea evolution, but it highlights the enduring scientific value of museum collections themselves. The DNA analyzed in the study came from specimens collected during 332 research voyages, many of those undertaken decades ago. This is science on a global scale, says Lindley Croswell, CEO Director of Museums Victoria. It demonstrates how museums, through international collaboration and the preservation of biodiversity specimens, can unlock new knowledge about our planet's past and help shape the future. So, truly incredible study, and really cool to see that there's a connection between that and this Gulper Shark study. However, the sharing of haplotypes among distant locations could be the consequence of limited resolution of the examined genes at the interspecific level. Our current genetic results clearly support the hypothesis of a single species of Centrophorus inhabiting the Mediterranean waters. This was suggested by several authors in the past, but never objectively verified for broader sampling. Over the years, this Mediterranean taxon has been reported in the papers and fishery statistics under different scientific names, creating confusion and raising the doubt that more than one species occurs in the basin. In their work, Gallart and Vincent in 2001 proposed that the studied species be referred to as Centrophorus granulosus, a pending revision by the International Commission on Zoological Nomenclature. Later, several authors argued that it was advisable to use a different name combination for individuals of the Mediterranean Ocean. However, even in recent publications, the name Centrophorus granulosus or Centrophorus cf. Granulosus was used to indicate the common Mediterranean gulper sharks, applying the precautionary principle. In some of our earlier publications, we also reported the possible occurrence in the Mediterranean Sea of two different species, with the majority of individuals ascribed to Centrophorus granulosus, and a few individuals reported under a different name, Centrophorus oyado, based merely on their original morphological identification in the field, which cannot be tested, confirmed, or disproved by genetic tools. However, we are fully aware that identification by non-taxonomists, especially during fishery monitoring activities on board, is susceptible to errors. For instance, in the study, the vast majority of Mediterranean specimens that cluster together in clade A were a priori classified as Centrophorus granulosus and only a few as Centrophorus oyado, and the remaining were only identified at the genus level as Centrophorus. It is beyond the scope of this paper to address the issue of the proper name to be used for Centrophorus individuals occurring in the Mediterranean Sea, or to retrace the long, controversial taxonomic diatribe related to them, since it has been well described in recent papers. However, a single unambiguous species name for the Mediterranean gulper shark is fundamental to reduce the confusion about this taxon and to implement the correct attribution of specimens with implication for the conservation and management of this genus. In light of this, we suggest conforming to the recommendation by White et al. In 2013, which is now widely adopted by the scientific community, to use the name Centrophorus cf. Oyado or Centrophorus oyado sensu for the gulper shark in the Mediterranean Sea, as well as for the conspecific specimens from the Atlantic, the Indian, and the Pacific Oceans, and to use Centrophorus granulosus when referring to the largest member of this genus, which does not occur in Mediterranean waters. So really interesting. So the official suggestion is the large gulper shark, Centrophorus granulosus, does not exist in the Mediterranean, and the little gulper shark, Centrophorus oyado, does exist in the Mediterranean and also elsewhere. Consequently, the specimens commonly found in the Mediterranean and attributed to Centrophorus granulosus in previous papers should be referred to as Centrophorus oyado. This new information on the genus confirms the importance of a revision of the identification field guide to use the Mediterranean as suggested in Vela et al. In 2017. Let's see. I think we'll skip most of this because it's starting to get a little late, but. Yeah, we'll skip this. Because this is kind of getting to the weeds of molecular biology a little bit. This is kind of interesting though. 3 individuals of Centrophorus oyado caught in the Atlantic Ocean when the external margin of their group clouds in the analysis pointed towards the other Atlantic shark groups. This suggests that the Atlantic population may present some morphological features differentiating it from the Mediterranean one. These morphological dissimilarities could be due to a certain degree of isolation caused by the Strait of Gibraltar, not only because of its small amplitude, but also because of the shallow maximum depth and or the adaptation of different environmental conditions, observed also for other deep-sea sharks, such as Centroschimus coelolepis. It is indeed widely reported that populations of the same species may exhibit various growth patterns related to the inhabited geographic area. This last hypothesis should be investigated further. So just as a refresher, here we go. This is actually extremely interesting. So this little area right here, this is the Strait of Gibraltar. And this is an extremely unusual area because when you look at the size of the Mediterranean Sea, that's a huge body of water. And its only connection to the Atlantic is this tiny little strait. Comparatively, this extremely small little strait. It's so small that, I mean, it's been such a key location in human history as far as like wars and strategy. Like holding this strait has been extremely vital in human history for just like control of the Mediterranean, control of trade. This is a very unusually small strait that has a lot of implications in human history. Similarly, what's kind of interesting is that the paper is sharing that there may be some implications of molecular history, whereas little gulper sharks on the Mediterranean side of the Strait of Gibraltar they appear to be morphologically a little bit different from little gulper sharks on the Atlantic side of the strait. And it makes sense because this is such a small area that there may be a limitation of like water flow or limitation of other kinds of flow like animal flow or G flow in this area, meaning that the little gulper sharks here, it makes sense that they are kind of experiencing a different environment than the little gulper sharks in the Atlantic and may just appear a little bit different as a result too. So very interesting hypothesis. Let's see. In the specific cases of Centrophorus species, the caudal fin displays a prominent asymmetry that is reported to be correlated with their general slow swimming behavior and their feeding habit, which may include predation on faster prey. The caudal fin morphology could also be associated with their escapement behavior and could represent an adaptation to the higher density of deep water masses they inhabit. Many structures, including the fins analyzed in this work, have been demonstrated to be correlated with changes in feeding behavior and the transition to different habitats during the lifespan of an individual. Alright, so we're here. This was the finale. In conclusion, the current study provides important information on the presence of a unique, undescribed species in Centrophorus in the Mediterranean Sea, which we tentatively identify as Centrophorus cf. Oyado, as previously proposed by Verissimo et al. In 2014. Therefore, a single and unambiguous and taxonomically valid name for the Mediterranean gulper shark should be described following the proper procedure for ICZN, all of the designation of a holotype to reduce the confusion bared upon the species. Looking forward to a comprehensive taxonomic revision of the genus Centrophorus, the implementation of the correct assignment of the specimens will improve the management and conservation of the species. So that was a really good paper, a very interesting paper, a lot of information, but a lot of worthwhile information. So just very, very interesting stuff in terms of like trying to help piece together what the picture of gulper sharks looks like as far as like what their classification is like. So I think the last thing that we'll do, because I know it's getting a little bit later, is looking at this guide of sharks of the Mediterranean. So it's a little bit less heavy than a full-fledged science guide, and we'll take a look specifically at the gulper shark here. And actually, while we're doing that, we'll take a little tour of Mediterranean sharks. Here we go. And also, this is really great. This is a great classification guide for a lot of creatures. So, you have cartilaginous fish, class Chondrichthyes, could be split into two groups. You can have holocephaly, which is the chimeras, so they have one gill slit. Or Elazobranchii, which sharks raise in skates. This is 5 to 7 gill slits. So we won't go into the orders, but just kind of interesting. So here we go. As a tour of Mediterranean sharks, we've got sharp-nosed 7-gill sharks. I'll zoom in for a better view. Okay, there we go. So sharp-nosed 7-gill sharks, blunt-nosed 6-gill sharks, big-eyed 6-gill sharks. So a lot of cool Mediterranean species. We got sand tiger sharks. Fun to see those. Small tooth sand tiger. The big-eye thresher. The thresher, like the classic one, Alopius vulpinus. The basking shark, so beautiful that basking sharks can be found in the Mediterranean. The white shark, Carcharodon carcharias. The poor beagle, Lamnonassus, so a favorite of ours on the channel. Short fin mako. Long fin mako. I guess we're going through all the everybody before we get to the gulper sharks. So, silky shark. Big nose shark. This is confused with sandbar shark pretty often. Sandbar shark, there it is. Dusky shark. Spinner shark. Black tip shark. Black tip reef shark. I forgot that these are actually in the Mediterranean because I'm used to these being Indo-Pacific species. Copper shark, also known as bronze whaler. Blue shark. Milk shark, tiger shark, oh wow, small spotted cat shark, nurse hound, really beautiful species, Atlantic sawtail cat shark, blackmouth cat shark, taupe shark, smooth hound, starry smooth hound, black spotted smooth hound, the angular rough shark, the kitefin shark. Now we're getting into squaliforms. I mean, angular rough shark is also squaliform, so now we're getting into closer to Gulper Shark territory. The velvet belly lantern shark, the Portuguese dogfish, really beautiful illustration. The little sleeper shark. Okay, this is interesting. The Gulper Shark. So here's our species, and we'll go back to it. As an outlier, we've got pike dogfish, long-nosed spur dog, short-nosed spur dog, bramble shark, smoothback angel shark, sawback angel shark. Okay, and that's it. So, Gulper Shark, just as far as key characters for this group. Spine of first dorsal fins with a lateral groove. Lower margin of the caudal fin with a notch right here. Inner corner pectoral fin squared or angular. Large eyes, green or yellowish, interdorsal ridge. I never knew that they had an interdorsal ridge. This note is really interesting. The genus Centrophorus is currently under major taxonomic revision of the former Mediterranean Centrophorus granulosus, is now considered synonym of Centrophorus oyado. Centrophorus granulosus may no longer be a valid species in Mediterranean. So that note is in reference to the paper that we just read, which is pretty interesting. So this indeed could be a little Gulper shark, which is the only species in the Mediterranean. And it's a beautiful illustration of an interesting shark that clearly deserves a lot more research. So, and I'm glad that, I don't know how Andy Merck was able to get these incredible photos of his animal, but I'm very grateful that he did, because this is a species that deserves a lot of conservation focus and attention. So, but I think with that, it's almost 11, so I think it's probably a good time to end this stream. So thank you guys so much for watching. It's kind of funny. Last week was a very fun, bouncy stream, like a really great way, like a colorful way to start the new year. And I'm glad that tonight's stream, it was more of like a straightforward science stream, and it's good to have both. It's good to kind of balance both and have episodes that are a little bit more science heavy and episodes that are a little bit more fun heavy. It's just like, it's good to, I mean, like, not, I shouldn't say fun heavy, but a little bit goofier. It's good to have a balance. So I personally really enjoyed learning more about this species and learning more about like the story of Gulper sharks and like how confusing they are as far as just the taxonomy and how much debate and revision there's been. And honestly, just the story of there's been a lot of misrepresentation where a lot of the specimens that have been collected, it's not just me, they've gone missing or just were not collected properly or just not identified properly. So, thank you, Howard. Balance is good. So, 100% agree. But I'm glad you enjoyed the stream, and I'm really looking forward to... I didn't see any... Oh, I see a suggestion. I like the lizard cat shark or Gulf dogfish. Let's see. Gulf dogfish is... What species is that? I might flip a coin, actually, because that's... both are really good suggestions. Gulf dogfish. Just to make sure we did not cover that one yet. Do you have the scientific name for the Gulf dogfish? And if not, I could pull that up. Because I feel it sounds kind of familiar. I just so happen to have. This is kind of funny how life works. I literally was just talking about with a friend that I have a coin collection in a treasure chest right over here. So, let's see, Gulf dogfish. It's okay. Let's see, Gulf dogfish. Squalus clarki. Let me check my Squaliform playlist. Oh, no worries. I found... let's see. Squaliforms. We've got pike dogfish, Greenland, viper dogfish, cookie cutter, Portuguese. Okay. Alright, so we have not... so this is Squalus clarki, I think named after Eugenia Clark. So, Okay. All right. So I have well, actually, this is really funny, Howard. I have a Canadian dollar. Uh, no, sorry, Canadian 50 cents. So I have a Canadian 50-cent coin here. Um, so we have Queen Elizabeth is heads, and then the I guess the English or I guess the British coat of arms is tails. So I propose that since the Gulf dogfish is named after Eugenie Clark, a very famous female shark scientist, we'll do Queen Elizabeth is the Gulf dogfish, and then the lizard cat shark is tails. So heads for Gulf dogfish, tails for lizard cat shark. And of course it drops. 1 second. Okay. It's heads. So it's Gulf dogfish. So good call for next week. We're going to do the Gulf dogfish, Squalus clarki. And I think it's named after Eugenie Clark. So what we might do, if this species is a little bit light on data, and if it is named after Eugenie Clark, because I think it is, what we might do is a review of this species and also a look at Eugenie Clark's life, because she was a really famous shark scientist and was a pioneer in shark study. So that might be kind of fun to do for next week. But until then, and that's actually going to be a really cool episode. So, but thank you guys so much for watching. Until then, hope you have a great rest of your week. And for Americans, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day on Monday. So that will be 3 days. So enjoy the long weekend. And that Monday, we will also have our Gulf dogfish study party. But hope you have a good one. Thank you so much for watching. And I will see you soon for the Gulf dogfish. Take care, guys. Cheers. Bye.